Imagine scoring 3 goals in 21 seconds, or playing 502 straight games without missing a minute, and doing it without a mask. Hockey has always been intense, but some NHL records are so outrageous, they feel made up. These are the stories behind records that may never, ever be broken. On a cool Sunday in April 2025, something happened in hockey that many thought would never happen. Alex Ovechkin, the Russian powerhouse from the Washington Capitals, scored a goal that changed history. It wasn't just any goal, it was the one that made him the all-time leading goal scorer in NHL history. He passed Wayne Gretzky's record of 894 goals with a one-timer on the power play. People celebrated everywhere, but it also made everyone wonder, if this record can fall. Even though Ovechkin now holds the most goals, Gretzky still has something no one is close to: his career points. He didn't just score goals, he also made assists like no one else. He finished with 2,857 points in total. That's 894 goals and 1,963 assists. The next closest player is Jaromir Jagr with 1,921 points. Sidney Crosby, who's still playing, has 1,687. Even Ovechkin, despite all the goals, has 1,623. That gap is massive. To beat Gretzky's point total, a player would need to get 100 points every year for 28 years straight. That's nearly impossible in today's game, where defense is tighter and scoring isn't easy. And it's not just the total points. In the 1981-82 season, Gretzky did something truly wild. He scored 50 goals in just 39 games. That kind of pace feels unreal. But Gretzky isn't the only one with records that feel untouchable. On December 31st, 1988, Pittsburgh fans saw something that's never been repeated. Mario Lemieux scored 5 goals in 5 different ways in one single game. He scored at even strength. He scored on a power play. He scored shorthanded. He scored on a penalty shot. And finally, he scored an empty net goal. He also added 3 assists that night, ending with 8 points in total. No one has done that since. No one has even come close. Then there's Bill Mosienko. Back in 1952, he did something that sounds like a joke, but it's real. He scored 3 goals in just 21 seconds. It was against the New York Rangers. 70 years later, it's still a record. In the time it takes to blink a few times, he is locked in a place in hockey history. And sometimes, records come from teamwork and timing. In 2018, the Montreal Canadiens scored 2 goals just 2 seconds apart. First, Max Domi scored with 22 seconds left. Then right after the face-off, Yoel Armia scored again, just 2 seconds later. The goalie had been pulled, and Armia hit the empty net. That broke the old record of 3 seconds. And since you can't really score faster than 1 second apart, this one might never be beaten. Now, forwards may steal the spotlight in hockey, but one of the sport's most untouchable records belongs to a defenseman, and there is no better defenseman than Bobby Orr. In the 1970-71 season, while wearing the Bruins jersey, he scored 37 goals and 102 assists. That's 139 points in just one season. For a defenseman, that number feels impossible. Fast forward over 50 years, and still no one's come close. In 2022, Roman Josi had a great season with 96 points. That's still more than 40 points behind Orr. It shows how far ahead of his time he really was. The game has changed, the rules have changed, the style has changed, but Orr's record hasn't budged. Then there's Glenn Hall. They called him Mr. Goalie, and for good reason. Between 1955 and 1963, he played 502 games in a row. No breaks, no substitutions, no mask. Just pure toughness. And every single one of those games, he played the full 60 minutes. He even had a strange pregame routine. He'd throw up, then drink orange juice. That was his reset button. Today's goalies get rest days. Hall didn't. He just kept showing up. And if this isn't hard enough to imagine, think about doing it with your face unprotected. Phil Kessel did set a streak of his own, 1,064 straight games. From 2009 to 2023, he didn't miss a single one. That's massive. But he didn't stand in front of slap shots or goalmouth scrambles every night like Hall did. Hall's 502 might be a smaller number, but the pain behind it makes it bigger than anything. If pain had a number, Dave Tiger Williams would have beaten anyone. He spent 3,966 minutes in the penalty box. That's nearly 66 hours in total. All from fighting, slashing, roughing. It was his job. Over 962 games, he averaged more than 4 penalty minutes per match. As the league moves away from brawls and big hits, that record becomes even more secure. There just aren't any players like Tiger anymore. But not all records are about glory. Some are just disasters frozen in time. From 1980 to 1983, the New York Islanders did something no team has come close to repeating. They won 19 playoff series in a row. That means they didn't just win a few games, they kept winning. Round after round, for 4 years straight, and each of those years ended with them lifting the Stanley Cup. 4 times in a row, 19 series wins without being knocked out. In today's NHL, with salary caps, trades, and constant team changes, something like that just doesn't happen anymore. But if you think that's unbeatable, then comes Henri Richard. He didn't just play for a great team, he was part of the greatness. Over his 20-year career with the Canadiens, he won the Stanley Cup 11 times. That's more championships than most teams have in their entire history. Henri wasn't just there, he was part of the engine. He wasn't the flashiest, but he kept winning. No one in NHL history has won more cups as a player. Not a single one. To even match that today, a player would have to win every year for 2 decades. And even then, they'd still be one short. And while some records are nearly impossible, others are straight up impressive by rule. Terry Sawchuk, one of the greatest goalies ever, holds the record for most ties by a goaltender, 172. But here's the thing, ties don't even exist in the NHL anymore. After 2005, every game ends in a winner, either an overtime or a shootout. So no one can ever tie a game again. That means no one can ever break Sawchuk's record. His number is locked in, not because it's unbeatable, but because the rules no longer allow it. It started like nothing special, just a goalie trying to keep his team in the game. But what Brian Boucher did in the winter of 2003 turned into something nobody expected. He didn't let a single puck get past him. Not for 1 game, not for 2, but for over 5 straight games. From December 22nd to January 11th, he stopped everything. A total of 332 minutes and 1 second without giving up a goal. That's more than 5.5 hours of pure shutout hockey. He broke a record that stood since 1937, Tiny Thompson's 252-minute streak. And in today's game with video analysis and power play experts, no one has been able to touch it since. But those long nights are over now. In 2015, the league switched to 3-on-3 overtime. Since then, most games end quickly.